Welcome to Three Takes. I'm Ishana.
I'm Minali.
I'm Mona.
Three women.
Three generations.
One family, unpacking the questions we all ask. Hello, listeners. So I'm sure some of you might have been able to guess just with context clues in some of our previous episodes when I've talked about how my husband and I are thinking about growing a family and family planning and all of that. So I'm officially here to say that I am pregnant with twins.
Yeah.
Cheers. Double cheers.
I know. I mean, you guys know how shocked we were when we found out, but
Wait, can we just pause and talk about their reactions? Because I think that's insane that there's twins happening in the family.
oh, I know. It's also really shocking because there's no one on either side of our families that really have twins. So when the OB told us at my 8-week appointment, she pulled up the ultrasound and was like, hey, do you see what I see? And I'm not used to seeing this. I didn't do my OB rotation for 5-6 years ago when I was a third-year medical student. And she was like, there's 2 of them. And I was like, what? And Rahul was like a ghost in the actual appointment. But I think it took us, well, initially I was going to surprise everybody and do this whole cutesy reveal thing. But as soon as we found out about the twins, you guys know that we called you right away. And we're like, yeah, we need to talk to our parents because we're feeling really overwhelmed.
It's very, very exciting, Minali. How you been doing? How you been feeling? Because I know the first pregnancy with the twins, you have just finished your residency, started your new job. How you been working through this pregnancy?
Yeah, no, people have been asking me that, and it's technically fellowship. So end of my headache fellowship was when I was pregnant, and then that I transitioned as an attending, which gives me a lot more flexibility in terms of just the hours that I'm working, weekends, how much I'm on call, etc. But overall, I'm doing well. Babies are healthy. That's the most important thing. I think, people have been asking me, what's the most challenging part of pregnancy for you? And without a question in my mind, it's having to work through pregnancy because it is the toughest endurance training I have ever put my body through. And this is coming from, how I trained for a marathon and a half Ironman. And this is so much harder because there's just no break. Morning, night, there's pains and aches everywhere. Sleeping gets tough. So yeah, definitely the hardest part of this pregnancy has been working.
And I think definitely, Minali, for you, of course, it's the first pregnancy and that's new job. And then also twins, it's a lot, right? It's right now your body. And also you're trying to, the first job comes with certain pressure and expectation, not necessarily just always from employer. You yourself probably putting some expectations on you.
I think part of what makes this really hard, and I'm curious, I want to hear about some of your experiences when you were working and pregnant with me and Ishana. But in a lot of ways, I feel like I have to overcompensate now because of maternity leave. So the other thing that's really nice as an attending, unlike when you're a medical trainee, is you do get more maternity leave. So I'm lucky in that I can get 4 months of maternity leave plus PTO. And so I'm going to use as much time as I can. But as a result, I am front loading. So I'm working a lot more in the hospital. I'm taking on more weekend shifts. I'm taking on just a lot more work in general. But I cannot be as productive. And I'm just so much more fatigued and exhausted because I'm pregnant. So it's almost I'm trying to overcompensate as if I was not pregnant. But I am.
Are you doing that because it's the self-pressure you're putting of the time you're missing, or your employer's asking you for it? Is it a state legal thing that you have to do? Where is that overwhelmingness and compensation coming from?
I think actually it's primarily driven just by myself because I want to make it fair so that other people don't have to take on all this work burden that I'm going to be leaving, behind. And for example, people are going to have to take over my patient inbox. So like when patients message me during that time period, someone else will be covering for me, right? But I'm trying to do the harder rotations, the harder stuff, so I don't leave that onto somebody else. So like that is another part of this. And you do feel guilty also because like you don't want your colleagues to have to do everything for you, but that's just like the nature of it, right? Like when you're gone out of work for a temporary amount of time, like someone's going to have to take over. So it's partially like me guilty. It's partially like, you know, you want to structure your clinic and your hospital work in a way that other colleagues don't have to have more burden on them. So it's like, it's multiple factors, I think.
I think a lot of time as women, we put a lot of pressure because I think anything which we do little bit, you know, we're always trying to prove ourselves or, you know, feel guilt if we don't do that. So I think I would say, Minali, if you think more as a collaborative approach, because your colleagues are going to take on the work probably which was not in their area because right when you are out. So you are doing in the front load, but also the same time, you should do as much as your body can handle, right? Otherwise, it's okay to ask for a break. Because there will be days, some days you will feel little bit lot more energy, some days will be completely where you won't be able to do. So I think listening to your bodies, which days can you push yourself a little bit extra? And some days you really cannot, like, you know, and without guilt. I think what happened is that the guilt and always trying to prove ourselves, it just put just so much of a stress and it hurts. And I remember when I was pregnant with you, Minali, and I was in the middle of really busy project. And I used to get so nauseated, so exhausted. And honestly, I just wanted to be in bed. But back then, there was really no option to say or work even remote. And I just have to push through it. And I really never wanted to tell them that I feel nausea and I'm really throwing up. Because I thought, well, they think if she's not able to handle the pregnancy, I don't know if she's going to come back or not. And if I look back, I think I didn't do myself any favors. My work probably would have been stronger if I asked for a little bit of a flexibility instead of trying to prove constantly. But I think when I was pregnant with Ishana, I had a manager who quietly just told me one day that, oh, you can take a laptop home, just rest and just send the meeting notes from there. I think that was just a small gesture for me because during your pregnancy, I always have to go in the office. I was always feeling sick. Somebody just telling me to take home and send the meeting notes from there, it stuck with me. And that really taught me that how much the leader's empathy matters. I think it is important that your peers, the leaders, show that empathy. I think because you are going through just such a roller coaster of emotions, you know, thinking what will happen after pregnancy, what will happening now and all of them. I think it just overload emotions that time also.
Yeah, it's a lot. And I think, at least for me, every trimester has come with its own challenges. Like, I don't actually think one trimester has been easier than the other. Like, for me, the first trimester was all about, like, trying not to vomit in people's face. The second trimester
Can you
was
imagine? Oh my God, they would no longer be your patient.
No, I know. Well, and, like, also, I didn't tell work my first trimester. So I was like, you know, you feel kind of isolated just dealing with it on your own. And then the second trimester has just been, like, the fatigue has been unreal. Like, I just can't even tell you. Like, I'm not somebody who needs too much sleep, but, like, I sleep 9-10 hours and I still get exhausted by the time the afternoon rolls around. And third trimester, I hear, I'm, like, nearing there, but I hear in third trimester you can barely walk by the end of it. So, at least for me, each trimester has brought in its own set of challenges. And I also think it's just taken me some time to accept that I have these physical limitations that don't allow me to perform in a way that I was before pregnancy. And I also think asking for help is something I'm not really good at, but I've been forced in some ways to do. Like, you guys came a few weeks ago because, like, my husband was away at a conference and, like, I would have been home alone. I was in a very busy, like, inpatient service at the time. So, like, home cooked meals would not have been an option for me. I would have just gotten takeout or done whatever was of convenience. And you guys kept asking. You're like, are you sure you don't want us to come? You sure you don't want us to come? And I kept saying no. But then, like, a week before, I was scheduled to go in to the inpatient service, like I threw up so bad that I was like, ugh, I don't think it's good for me to stay alone while like Rahul's gone and while I'm on like a really busy stretch of work. So I ended up calling you guys last minute, and honestly, like having you for even those 5 days was such a big relief for me to even have just like home cooked meals while work was getting out of control.
I mean, I guess going back to just, focusing on pregnancy at work, how have you seeked out help maybe in the work setting? I mean, personal life is kind of different, but have you noticed that there's more aid or resources or support that you've been able to get at work?
I think what's nice is that I have mentors who have families, and so who have had this shared pregnancy experience, and like people have definitely reached out and like checked in with me. Like last week I had one of my mentors just like call me to like ask how the pregnancy is doing and if there's anything that she can do to like help ease, any workload. And that's been really nice and helpful, because I even said, oh, like I miss us like writing together and all of that. And she's like, listen, don't worry about the writing group. Like use that time to take a nap. Like you don't need to be there. And that was really reassuring and nice to like have that kind of support. But in terms of actual work accommodations, I haven't asked for any.
I hear you, Minali, and I think unless you ask, people won't know. One of the things which you felt that, sometimes you feel that you're not able to do things as much. But pregnancy doesn't mean that you are not capable of doing something. It can be really exhausting because you are dealing with your body changing, but also you are dealing with how others are going to see you at the workplace or how others are going to see you, because there is certain way when you think about Minali, right? So I think that pressure there, but I think asking, and that's the only way people, the organization can help when people go forward and ask. And especially in now time, if you don't ask, then how it's going to happen? I myself is guilt, because when I was pregnant with you guys, we didn't have that much, that pregnancy act and all of them. It's like you have certain that 6 weeks, and after that you're really mercy of the managers, right? And did really people understand the managers beyond the company policies? Did they really have that empathy and care for you? A lot of times they didn't. But I think if your generation, if the women go and ask, and I think even the fathers, right? The young fathers, the young family, both, whether it's a mother or father, if they go ask that, well, this is what's going on, they need help. I think the more and more people are open and go to the leadership, the leaders, I think the organization can do better, because, and I think for the leaders, that pregnancy, it's not a performance problem. It's a phase of life, right? Supporting someone through it not only helps them, but it really strengthens their culture and builds loyalty for years to come. I still remember the thing what my manager told me, hey, you can take the laptop when I was pregnant with Ishana and just send the meeting notes from home. Just the break. I think that's, unless I reach out, I tell people won't know.
And I will say, being on the other side of it, where at one of my first jobs, my manager went on maternity leave, and, there was slack that I had to pick up and I was doing. And because she was so transparent in her pregnancy journey, well, I will caveat this by saying I think it is also different when you are working with a woman manager or a woman-led team, because there's a little bit more comfortability. But I never once felt like, oh, because she is pregnant, now the workload is so much. It's like she, to Mama's point, is in this phase of life, and we are helping support her and make this process much easier. So I do think the asking for help is important.
You basically just have to be your own advocate in a lot of ways, because like people won't really know like what you're thinking or what you need if you don't tell them, right? Like they can't really read your mind.
Let's say you are at work right now. Is there something you would ask that you would need right now?
Probably not. Like, I mean, so I will say like my energy levels really vary throughout the day. So like I'm at my peak performance level in the mornings. So like basically anything before 1 p.m. I'm like at my best. Then once I get into the afternoon, that's when the fatigue really starts kicking in. Having said that though, I think I set up my schedule in the best possible way I possibly could. Because for example, like the way my work week is set up is that I'm in the clinic a day and a half. I do like inpatient 6 weeks a year. And then the rest of the time I do editorial work. And my Mondays and Fridays are remote. And most of my weekends are off. So like for me, I'm like, I do think that's a pretty flexible work schedule compared to what I had to do in training. Like there's no question. And so I almost feel like I created the best possible work schedule I could for myself, going into this year. And I don't really feel like I need to be like, I don't know. I feel like just like keep asking for more and more flexibility is like almost taking advantage in a way. So like, I feel like I should work with the circumstances that I have, even though that like day and a half that I'm in clinic, like it's tiring, but it's like, it's such a small portion of the week. You're almost just like, it's fine. Like I'll push through it.
Minali, is any resources or any support which is like you are using to go through this transition, or is there anything which you can share?
I have used some resources. I think I've listened to like a few podcasts in general. So to one thing also, before I forget this point, like Ishana had mentioned, when you guys came, like how that was more of like you guys helping like in my personal life, not necessarily at work. But I would say one of the most undervalued things is the work you do at home, domestic work. That is also work. In addition to the work that you do like in an office space, there's so much work at home to also be done, and like laundry, cooking, planning for the babies. Like I consider all of that also work. And so like I do think having you guys here, even for those 5 days, was really helpful to offload just work that I had in general, right? So like I do think sometimes it's important to make that distinction.
I think that's a really, really important distinction, because doing laundry is like not fun at all, and it takes time. I'm curious because I took an econ class in undergrad that was called Women in the Economy, and we did a lot of analysis just in general on women who decide to have a family and how that affects career trajectory and the economy in general. And statistically, because of the length of maternity leave, women often don't get promoted as quickly or as easier as a lot of men do, because traditionally the men's maternity leave is not as long. So
Paternity leave.
Oh, sorry. Did I say fraternity?
No, you said maternity leave.
Oh, okay. I thought I said fraternity, and I was like, oh, that would be off. And I think something I've considered is if I'm having a family, I think understanding where I am in my career and what it means for when I would potentially come back from maternity leave is something that I think is important about like family planning and pregnancy and working. This is more of a general question, but for both of you, like, how have you thought about how your pregnancy is going to affect getting back into it? Or Mama, you can speak to how it actually did affect getting back into the workplace, but that for you, like, have you thought about what it means of once you go back?
So when I was pregnant with Minali, you, and even with you, Ishana, it was really hard to find a job if you take a break. So unless you can work them right after 6 weeks, you are ready to go. You can extend some more without pay. But if you really want anything beyond, we will not give the part-time. Part-time was not an option. So I took some 9 months break, Minali, after you. And it was really hard to find a flexible job. It was just impossible. I got a break from one of the company because my manager herself was doing like a 3/4 time of work. And she gave me the break. And that's how I started. And that flexibility, I really needed that flexibility. And after that, the company offered the job later on. So I became full-time and all of that. That was different. But in general, I will tell you, in one of the company when I was working, as soon as they will see, a woman who is pregnant, or they will see that somebody is married for 2-3 years, they will say, oh my gosh, do you think she might have a baby? It's right away. I have seen people who won't even interview that.
Which is so messed up.
So, but now at least there are more laws it has come a long way, but I think it's still there is a long road where we can really have a good system there. So my time was really definitely different. But as far as managing and doing things and all of them, yeah, I think you just have to fight for it. Something which is not worth it, you let it go. And something you just need to learn how to deal with it. I think it really depends on what is your priority. Where I see now, and I think that's where I even tell the organization I work with, and I tell the leaders that pregnancy, as I was telling you, is that it is not a performance problem. You really need to show the empathy and care. And also for the employees, like, asking for help for accommodation, it's not a weakness, it's your right. And I think unless you, both employees and employers, try to talk to each other and explain what's going on, how do you even make things better? And you don't have to do it all alone.
That's a really good point. I'm just trying to apply what you said into the medical field and profession. And I think medical training is where this gets really tough because we work so many hours and there's not a lot of flexibility. And I had 4 co-residents my last year of residency who were pregnant and had babies. And like, I know a lot of them, for example, would ask to trade night shifts. And like, knowing now that I've gone through pregnancy, I just have so much respect for anyone who's gone through this because like, that is so tough. Like working the hours that trainees have to work, shifting from nights to days, days to nights. And it's also the stress of the job itself. Like, it's mentally and physically exhausting as is, but then, you add carrying a baby, it just adds so much more. And I think fortunately they had each other as a support group during that time period. I think, like, I know, for example, like certain specialties, like certain surgical fields, if you take more than like 6 weeks off, you basically have to extend your training. So like, I know some people who've taken like a full year in between, just to basically go on parental leave and then restart their training again. But that means that you basically have to extend for a year.
Wow.
Right? And then the pay is very like minimal compared to what you would be like as an attending. So there's like the financial implications as well. That can be really tough. And there's not too much flexibility, unfortunately. But Mama, another point you brought up, well, it's your right to be able to ask for accommodations. And I think in the US, what's also tough is that labor laws are different by state. So some states are a lot more accommodating and have a lot more strict regulations than other states. So that was one of the resources you were asking me. I was just like looking through like, okay, like what kind of things are there to support pregnant women during work? One of those things is the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act, which is like a national law, which basically states that an employer needs to provide, quote, reasonable accommodation, end quote, for an employee's limitations, as long as it doesn't cause, quote, undue hardship, end quote, for the employer. So like, it's a
What does
little
that mean?
vague. It's a little vague,
That's like
right?
so. That's like a solution without a solution.
No, I know. So like they were saying like, okay, like some examples that are reasonable accommodations would be things like more flexible breaks for like water or eating or going to the restroom, like changing a uniform or dress code that's more comfortable, like having shorter hours, working part-time. I was like, that's kind of a joke because that's not going to happen in residency for sure. And then they're like, oh, like telework, which isn't an option for like a lot of places, or like light duty to help with lifting or manual labor. Like, I don't know, like I want to live in an ideal world where like I would hope that every employer can get these kinds of accommodations. But like having seen colleagues gone through this experience like during residency and training, I just know that that's not reality.
And I think beyond laws, there has to be even the laws. I think what organization can also do it. And even the individuals. I know that I worked with somebody who was a leader. And you know how in the offices there will be a feeding room. And sometime, in that particular company, in the feeding room, you will put a sign that feeding is in process. It means that a mom is probably pumping or, that's the time, so do not go. But if it is not, the sign is not there, somebody can use as a meeting for a meeting room sort of, right? I know that particular leader refused to go in that room. They said, I can't go and sit there because probably somebody just pumped there. So, it's just the mindset. People just think that pregnancy is like, oh my gosh, that somebody just comes. So I think even educating all your employees, it's beyond laws. Like you have to say that it is a normal process. How can you help people? I think, and the more people ask, and of course, you should not take advantage. There are people who do take advantage of things too, and which hurts the rest of the people.
No, that's fair. I think, Mona, I didn't forget your question about like what are the actual resources you use. So I will say like there are podcasts I listen to, like I listen to Twin University, like which is specifically geared towards twins. I listen to The Kick, which is a pregnancy podcast that like there's so much crap out there about pregnancy in general. It's nice because it's like a doctor and his wife who talk about like the actual science and medicine that happens in pregnancy. I actually read a lot of American College of Obstetrics and Gynecology guidelines, like ACOG guidelines. But apart from that, I actually think like the best resources have been friends and also like Facebook support groups. And then even within neurology, we have like a neuro moms group that I was recently added to. So actually like talking to people, colleagues, friends, that has been the best resource for me. Like there's a few friends who I have who have twins too. So like having their insight has been and continues to be very, very helpful. So like that's the best form of resource. And I actually think one of the hardest parts of my first trimester was I felt like this experience was very isolating because I only told you all about it, like immediate family. But as soon as I opened up and I shared more publicly, I think in general, like my mental well-being has gotten so much better because I have people to talk about it with.
Yeah, definitely. I think a support system helps.
Ishana, has this like in any way like changed like how you like think about like family planning and work?
LOL, I'm like so not even in that phase of life, but I think it doesn't change where I do think I have, and I know a lot of my friends as well, like a lot of the jobs and the careers and companies that we choose to work at, we also look at like what are the benefits of if I were to leave or I took a sabbatical or it was maternity leave. Are the benefits there? Can I come back and still maintain my salary or work part-time? Like those are decisions I do feel like I think about and I make because I am someone that wants to have a family, whether or not it's like a faraway time frame from here. Like it is something I think I have to make decisions about, which I don't know if people who don't want families or people who actually don't go through the pregnancy physical process itself necessarily always have to think about top of mind.
Yeah, and Ishana, you had also asked me, like, have you thought about, like, the transition back to work once you're done with maternity leave? And I'm very much, like, work is a huge part of my identity. So, like, I'm not giving up on work or anything. Like, I fully intend to keep practicing as a physician. But I definitely think priorities are going to change. And, you know, in terms of how much more, quote, extra responsibility am I willing to take? I'll probably have to say no to, like, projects. But, you know, I still want to see patients. I still want to write as much as I can. It's going to be, like, trial, error, learning process. Like, I'm going to have to figure out, like, what do I have the bandwidth for and what I don't have the bandwidth for. So it's going to be a transition for sure. But I'll just have to figure it out.
And I think just some of the things which you might not do, I think I see that as just a pause, right? Especially if something you're passionate about is because something better and bigger is right in front of you, right? Your kids, your other things which you're battling. So only so much you can juggle and balance. But just because somebody is pregnant and have a baby, it doesn't mean you're giving up with your career. Your career, motherhood, pregnancy, everything can be together.
Okay, I think we should end this with my question is, have you like used pregnancy towards your advantage? Have you skipped the line or like boarded a flight early? Like
No.
And perks that like you should be taking advantage of if you're pregnant.
Rahul and I tried upgrading a flight because I was pregnant, but it didn't actually end up working out for us.
Okay, well, I feel like in the last couple of months that you have, you should.
Okay, I'll try.
You should get like discounts. You can get like, I saw on TikTok that if you like send like brands your registry or something, sometimes they like send you free stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's a good
feel
hack.
like, especially since you're having like double, like you should use that to your advantage. I mean, I can say I think one thing I learned from both of you is that one, there's this like self-pressure that we put on ourselves to try to perform at the exact level that you would if you weren't pregnant. And I think that is just something that's like a mindset shift that has to happen because there are just so many limitations in cognitive and physical abilities. But I think other than that is, I also do feel like if you ask for help, it can be there, because I do think a lot of people and a lot of companies are changing to support the maternity and the paternity process.
Yeah, I think for me, it's just something I'm going to continue to work on is just being a better advocate for myself and like asking for help when I need it.
Yeah, and I think for me that the support system, reaching out to the people, like joining how different people joining the group, or maybe Ishana's this because I know she watches a lot of TikTok, how to get free diapers and free formulas. Maybe trying those things for you, Minali.
I know, I need to be on that. Honestly, I'm very curious, and this is my first time like going through pregnancy, and parenting will be my first time. So if there's any life hacks that people have in terms of working during pregnancy, or if people know of good resources, please share. Like I want to learn, so don't hesitate to reach out.
Thanks for joining us on Free Takes. If something we shared sparked a new thought or opened up a convo with someone you love, we'd love to hear about it. DM us on Instagram at 3.takes, email us at connect@3takes.com, or visit us at www.3takes.com. And if this episode meant something to you, share it with another mother, daughter, or sister in your life. It's how we grow and how the stories keep moving.